Shout out to USARK and all USARK members. If you don't know what USARK is, don't be ashamed. Just go ahead and click the third link in the description below. See what USARK is all about, okay? You never know when legislations are going to hit your backyard, so that's why it's very important to consider becoming a USARK member today. These numbers really do matter, and they look at it for consideration when it comes to battling legislation. So first and foremost, thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who partners up and volunteers with USARK organization. Thank you for anyone out there who's a USARK member. And if you can't become a USARK member today, please talk about it on your platforms. Let your neighbors know, let all your pet stores know what USARK is here for, and it's here to fight for our animal rights. Thank you to every USARK member and USARK supporter out there.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, God love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
And we're live, episode 639, All in the Tree Tuesdays with the All in the Tree boys. Get the likes up, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I'm your boy MJ, and of course with me, the mayor of Chondro Town. Do you hear how that name is pronounced? The mayor of Chondro Town. And
Not Chondro Mayor?
Not and Marshall Mendez. Wait, hold on, guys. Let's hear him. Marshall. Oh,
How's it going?
yeah.
Woo, woo. He is back. He's back.
I had some anonymous text messages with some concerns with your audio tonight, and it happened last minute as always, but you sound great, Marshall. Thanks for doing that for me, buddy,
Yeah, man.
and the listeners.
Maybe next week we'll try it back downstairs again, see what happens with the laptop.
Yeah, as long as you're not using your fucking Android, I think we'll be okay.
He's not any prettier, but he sounds a lot better.
Oh my God, I know. Hey, but guys, happy Tuesday. Good to have you guys back. Just us tonight. Lots to catch up on. Obviously, Marshall, we always like to kind of get to an update as far as everything with you. I mean, I know at this point the two clutches you hatched out were, I don't know, how old are they now? 3 months, 4 months? How old are they?
We hatched in January, so they're
Shit.
4 months or something.
Wow.
And they're doing about the same, man. I've got about 10 or 12 that are on their, I don't know, 5th, 6th, 7th meal, 2 or 3 sheds now. And the other ones I'm still assist feeding. I think I've got about, I've lost a couple down to from 20. I think I started with 22 and I'm down to I don't know, 16, 17, something like that.
It's not bad.
The other ones have just kind of I don't know. They just never took off. A lot of them were real small to begin with, so that could add something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, really no change. I haven't really gotten. I'm wondering how many assist feeds with the gizzards it's going to take for some of these to kind of pick up and get going. Because it's been, I don't know, it's probably been 7 or 8 assist feeds for some of them at this point. And I don't know, we'll see if those ever come around. Be interesting to see how many it takes, how many feeds it takes. Because I'm doing the gizzards, and I have started switching to pinks to a few of them. If I get it, find a really small pink,
I think the good thing about the gizzards is you're not losing ground when you assist feed them. I always felt like feeding pinks or pink heads, I was always like losing ground every week. But with the gizzards, I think you could, continue on that path for really as long as it takes. I think you can keep those things alive for assist feeding them for a long, long time until they kick in. I just had one recently that was assist fed half dozen times and then, all of a sudden decided to take. So, I think I think the gizzards are gonna keep you above water, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think
we'll see.
one thing I love about the gizzards. By the way, does my mic sound better? My mic was off. I'm talking all this shit about Marshall, and my mic was off this entire time. So thanks for the heads up, Bill. Fuck, dude.
It wasn't me. It was some other people in the chats. You'd always sound good on my end, but
yeah. My mic was off. Anyways, yeah, but dude, another thing why I'm like, man, I love the gizzards. It gives the chondro a fighting chance longer than it would without it. I mean, I feel like the I don't know, maybe the mice legs were I guess something to that standard where it could keep it going, but like we all know the mouse tails and the rat tails isn't something that you can't keep going on that. Like they either figure it out or they don't and just fucking crash by the wayside.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, how those several animals end up doing. It's really it'll be a great way to, add into, we know so little about chicken gizzards in the long run. I mean,
we do. Yeah.
So I think it'll be really, give us a lot of valuable information, Marshall, about how those animals end up ultimately doing.
Yeah, one thing I've started doing is, they don't seem to, even though they've had as many feeds as the other ones, I don't think any of them that I've been given exclusively gizzards to have had a second shed yet. So I've started to pump it up as far as, still keeping them about the same size so they go down easy, but I'm giving them 2 or 3 starting. I started that last week and was just like, fuck it. If they're going to, if it's too much, it's too much and they croak or whatever. But, it's either that or they're going to just croak slowly. So, started pumping them up. So let's see if that, helps any.
Yeah. I would be doing the same thing.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like there could be at some point something to tell us, are we losing these things due to the way we're feeding it or keeping it? Or is it just a fucking internal thing that we could do nothing about? I scratch my head same way Alex Warren does because we both had prolapses every single clutch that we've had, and then we have people, not that they're lying, but we have people who gracefully say they've never experienced any prolapses. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, what could it be? Like, what the fuck, But, at the end of the day, you get what you can get, too. I know we're getting better at having the percentage of what goes the distance higher, but at the end of the day, they are chondros, and we're going to be reminded of that no matter what we do, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the reason that we keep doing this. It's the reason I think that this podcast in particular has become so popular because we're just sharing a lot of knowledge, a lot of experiences, not only ours, but the guests that we've had on. And, I think that it's just very valuable information.
Yeah. Yeah. And also too, like one of the things I feel like that this podcast, this especially Tuesday nights help with people is like when they go through it, they don't feel like they're alone, without having to know people in this. and you're just doing it, you just kind of feel like you're going nowhere, and you're just fucking one big piece of shit, fucked up breeder. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, the waves come and they go, and also, like, I don't know. I know I have a lot of stuff happening on my end right now, which we'll get into, but like I feel like without paying attention to what's happening and dialing shit in and making adjustments, like I feel like the biggest adjustment of the year was what you had to do, Bill, in the middle of your season. And if it wasn't for that, and you were just to shrug your shoulders, imagine all the eggs you would have lost this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And MJ, you're getting ready to have to utilize all the tricks and all the tips that you've
been marinating and fucking soaking in for the last, I don't know how many years.
Dude, you're getting ready to have to utilize that. Trust me.
Trial by fire is coming up.
And I quit drinking, so that sucks.
I saw your post, and listen, man, I love you, but we'll see how long that lasts. I hope it doesn't last until September.
I just don't listen. You're probably right, but I can't drink every day. I need to chill out. That's all that is. It just kind of got to the point of me not being active like I normally like to be active, and I know I have my knee thing going on, but still, like, I had to snap out of it. But you're right. I don't. I'm gonna have a lot on my hands, which we'll get into, like I said, right now in a bit. But I want to.
MJ, they will make you start drinking again.
No, okay. So real quick, Marshall, I'm curious. You said you got 17 that you feel good about, or 17 that are just left?
I've got 17 left. I've got about 12 or 13 that I feel good about.
Okay. And I know you don't like to think down the road too far or at all, but I'm just curious, like, what's the plan with these from what you can see so far? Like, I mean, is it like, nah, they need to stay and I have no worries about any of them leaving, or are you starting to think in your head, okay, maybe a few of these could maybe, hit some airplanes here in the next, month or two, or a few or whatever?
I mean, honestly, man, I'm not in a hurry. I don't see any of them leaving anytime soon. Maybe when, maybe after color change and I've sexed them, and I'm heavy in one sex or the other, or there's some that don't look as good as the other ones, or who knows. But yeah, I don't foresee selling them until color change. At the soonest.
So you don't see any kind of change in shade or anything at 4 months? Like I'm curious.
They've had most of them have had one shed.
Oh, really? In 4 months? I guess that's right. I never really looked.
No. Sorry. Most of them have had like their first shed plus one or plus two.
Yeah,
they've had about, I don't know, maybe 10 meals, 10 or 12 meals. The ones that have eaten the most, because I feed them once a week. So
Bill,
they're three.
No, go ahead, Marshall. They're what?
I was gonna say they're 3.5 months old. Okay. So that's whatever. That's 12 meals or so.
Yeah, it's young. And Bill, do you notice a time when you start seeing OCC with the potent designer stuff, or is it all across the board, just fucking random from what you've seen?
I think it's been pretty consistent, like the 18-month mark.
18 months?
Yeah, if I had to guess, just throw one number out there. Of course, there's a big range, but if you're, 18 months, I'm starting to see color change, most of my stuff.
Yeah, and let's kind of talk about the color changes that you feel like these fuckers are going to be heading, Bill. Holy shit, this is nuts, dude. God damn, you got to be feeling some type of way off of this clutch.
That's a nice one.
Well,
dude, look at it.
I talk, I've been talking the last 2-3 weeks about sleepless nights, waiting on this clutch to hatch, and now I'm sleeping like a baby, man. I'm just so ecstatic about 13 of these. This is a repeat pairing. Last year, I only ended up with like 7 babies, I think, that came out of the egg. So to get this on top of the, the other freight train pathogen clutch was 15 out of 15. So I'm looking at 28 of these just incredible looking neos.
God damn.
I've said it before. Once I can get them perched, like I would expect a 95% establishment rate. From here on out.
When you see them at this point right here, you feel good about it?
Absolutely. I feel really, really good about it.
Me too. I mean, I've only seen something like that once, but it looked like that's what should happen. You know what I mean?
Those look nice and fat and healthy.
They're great size. They all came out. I think maybe I pipped 4 of them. The rest self-pipped. On day 51, they started pipping, and by day 54, they were all out. They just look fantastic. Obviously, they look great, phenotypically wise, but just like you said, they've got good size on them, good body composition. I haven't taken them off. I haven't separated them yet, so I haven't really looked for any like kinks or abnormalities, but I don't think there's going to be anything there. They all are just perching great. They look great.
Dude, man, that's epic. And I'm curious, Bill, what you produce Freight Train and Outbreak, right?
I did not produce Freight Train. Freight Train came from Chondro.
Right. Okay. You have pictures of what Freight Train looked like as a baby, I'm assuming?
I do, but I can't remember offhand, to be honest, if he was super dark like that or not. I think he probably was. He's a red dominant now. I'm pretty darn sure, because he's produced enough clutches from enough different females. Yeah. So, he's probably a red dominant, and he's just very consistent. Every single baby he produces looks like that. Right. So, and I've seen enough of these of the first time. This is a repeat pairing, so I've seen enough of the first generation. Those things are 16, 17 months old now, and they look really, really good. I've got 2 of them here, and then there's 5 others that I've been able to keep track of, and from the original pairing, they all look really good. So
yeah, I was going to ask if you had tabs on the ones from the last.
Yeah, on almost all of them, I've got updated pictures of, and man, they just look great.
So if we were to rank your most potent clutch under your belt at this point, where does Freight Train and Outbreak land on that list? Like as far as the top?
Well, I think the Freight Train Outbreak and the Freight Train Pathogen animals all look very, very similar, and that would make sense because Outbreak and Pathogen are sisters from the sickness.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
It would make sense that they would all look very similar, and so I think the Freight Train Pathogen animals are going to go on just like the Freight Train Outbreak clutch from last year. I think they're all going to look phenomenal.
Damn. So this is Freight Train Pathogen.
Yeah. So that was the one. Now all these animals, I've had really good establishment rate of the 15. One of them is being assist fed. Alex has that one.
It's not this one, is it?
I don't even know, to be honest, brother.
Wow. How's that? Do you even know how this one's doing?
The
cherry red one.
To be completely honest, no.
Alex.
All I know is they're all doing great, except one is being assist fed. So it's probably odds not that one.
Oh my God. I feel like this one still had the darkest one you've ever produced, maybe, or is it pretty close there with the
man, I could put 10 up there that are just that dark and just that reduced. So
it's like black, dude. It's fucking nuts. Like just unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't wait to show them off in September. None of them will be gone in September for the party. I'll keep them all until probably late October is when the temps will allow them to be shipped out. So in September they'll all be here, and by that time they should all be established.
All right, so Bill, take me and go on, Marshall.
You're going through a bit of a heat wave right now, huh? Is that what I
yeah,
read?
yeah, we've already had a day or two in the hundreds here.
Oh wow.
So
I look forward to that.
Bouncing all over the place. It's going to be back in the 70s for a couple days, in the 80s, and so already getting to that warm season here, which is great. I love summer here in Texas, but it doesn't make for good shipping weather for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Bill. Well, I want a lesson in this. Obviously, this isn't your first rodeo producing this many chondros. I mean, this year's.
Say it again, MJ.
Is everything okay over there? Is someone getting hacked up?
Kim's busting up some ice for my ice water.
Kim, I said hi. Tell her I miss her.
MJ and Marshall say hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Love you guys.
She said she loves you guys.
No, but okay. Let's kind of talk about the approach you have taken this year with the amount of babies you need to establish. I know you just said Alex has one of the clutches at his house, or how many does he have on his hands in his place?
I think he probably has about 12 to 14 of my babies in total there.
Okay.
That he's working with. I think total wise right now, we're looking at 52, 54 babies on the ground.
Okay.
And 6 eggs in the incubator. So
and 12 of those with Alex, right?
Well, they're over there. I do have a split clutch with Alex. We produced a clutch that had how many babies? 7. I think we had 7 babies that we're sharing. So he has 3 of those over there. Thank you. I have 4 here, but he also just has a handful of other stuff. He's got a few of the clutch that Buddy and I produced together that he established over there.
How are all those babies doing?
They're doing good. I've had 2 small prolapses this year, and they were both of the clutch that I split with Buddy. But those animals are doing great. The first one that prolapsed is already back eating. I did take a cue from Marshall. Perches are still out. It's had 2 meals on its own now, and I'm not planning on putting those perches back, probably for another month or so.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, they do fine without the perch.
Yeah, they really do. I put a small hide in there that it actually uses to bask on.
Yeah.
So it'll bask on that flat surface, which is great. It's kind of the best of both worlds. I think it feels like it's elevated off the floor, but it doesn't have the pressure of a perch. So,
Bill, I got to ask you, with the 2 prolapses, how many times have they prolapsed? Just once or multiple times?
One just prolapsed once, and it was easily reducible, and it's taken off. The second one prolapsed actually 3 times. But 2 of those were like, it prolapsed, we put it back in, it prolapsed the next time, put it back in, went a couple days, prolapsed for the 3rd time. And then, we reduced it, and now it's been good for about a week. So I think it's going to be fine. Over time, and I've seen so many prolapses. I'm the anticipus of MJ, what you said about people that have never had prolapses. I feel like I've had way more than my fair share. So I've gotten a pretty good feeling about how they're ultimately going to do. And so I think these 2 are going to end up doing fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I had the high hopes of having multiple prolapses, thinking like, oh, wow, it stopped. But unfortunately, after 4 meals, it prolapsed again. And I just did the Marshall Mendez at that point. Called it a fucking, that's it. Maybe next lifetime.
Yeah. I've done it many times. I noticed you're wearing your Saltzman shirt. He had his first round of prolapses on his second, his clutch this year.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Was that okay? And what's the feedback on that? What's he telling you?
Well, nothing. Just that, he's had prolapse and they've done well from what I can tell. He put them back in and they're doing great. But I think some people have just the feeling that, if they have a clutch or 2 and they never have a prolapse, they've got, everything dialed in, figured out. And ultimately, if you get enough numbers on your side, no matter, I think, what you do, everything right, it's still going to happen. It's how you respond to it, that makes the difference.
And the one thing that I feel like, man, it's a bummer, but it is what it is. Like there's that 30 days that you wait, or however long you wait of it not eating, kind of like really backtracks the animal's growth.
Sets them back. It sets them back for sure.
Yeah, especially
I'm not waiting 30 days. When they prolapse, I'll give them 2 weeks, and then they get either they'll eat a small gizzard or they'll get a cyst fed a small gizzard.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't wait 30 days.
What about you, Marshall? Do you do 2 weeks or do you wait 30 days?
It just depends on how bad it was. Like the last one that I had was actually the albino, and from it's been whatever 6 or 8 months ago, something like that. Now I think it happened last October, September, sometime. I can't remember exactly when, but Yeah, it was just a little small one, like sometimes you see them and it's like it's big. It's like a big, some are worse than others. This one was, it was pretty mild. Yep. And I think I gave it like 2 weeks and, it went back in with either just a little bit of help from me, or I can't remember. Maybe it was even no help. I mean, it was just like a little tiny bubble that you saw sticking out, like smaller, like half the size or even less of it, like a pencil eraser. Yeah. Whereas you see some of them and you see this little baby and it's got like an inch long, piece of its guts hanging out. So I think it just depends on how bad it is before I would try again. I mean, if it's a bad one, I would say 2 weeks, but I think the more important thing, or what I kind of learned from it is to change what you're feeding them more so than how often or the size. Because I didn't do any gizzards last year. And, knock on wood, this year, it hasn't been that long, but I haven't had one. And I've been alternating pink gizzards every other week.
Yeah, and to kind of, connect you on that, Bill, are you doing the back and forth thing as well, or are you just switching them to just mice now?
I have gone really, I'm like, I haven't offered a single one of these a mouse pink. So I'm going like chicken gizzards the first 4 or 5 meals until they're big enough to take an ASF pink. And then once they can take an ASF pink, then I'm like just two gizzards to an ASF pink. And
because I wondered if it was like the fact that they were the ones that are being assist fed, are they not growing as fast because they're only getting gizzards? Or do you think it's the stress of assist feeding them? Or is it, because mass wise, I think they're getting about the same mass of food as they would be with a pink, but it's all gizzard. So I wonder if that's got anything to do with the fact that they're not growing as fast.
I don't know. I can just tell you that without assist feeding, so just the ones that are taking gizzards off tongs are having a really nice, solid growth rate. I don't have, this year I don't have enough sample size with the assist feeding because I've really assist feeding such a small number. But yeah, those are smaller because, we give them time, right? I mean, we're not stepping in and we're not feeding them, assist feeding them as quickly and as often as probably they would if they were just snatching stuff and off tongs and looking hungry the next day. So
yeah,
I think it's just a combination of all that. It's probably, the stress of being assist fed and, you're probably giving them smaller meals than they could actually take if they were healthy and thriving and taking them off tongs.
Yeah. MJ, have you ever had how many have you had that you fed exclusively geckos?
I had one, only one.
Just one?
It's my runt, yeah, and it's still alive, but it's prolapsed on me once, and from
the geckos.
No, when I switched it, when I went from geckos and once it started eating fuzzies, so I think it prolapsed on its 4th fuzzy, and it was eating great. Like I felt great. I felt really good the way it switched, where I thought it was like a done deal, because it went into shed. It was looking good, but then it shed, and then it prolapsed with its shed. Yeah. And so, basically, and then now that thing has been on chicken gizzards ever since. So I've only given this thing chicken gizzards for the last like 4 meals. And it's shitting good. It looks good. I'm not shy with this. I'm trying to give this thing as big as a fucking chicken gizzard as possible without overdoing it. But I'm like you, Marshall. Like I'm kind of eyeballing it where I'm like, oof, man, this might be too much. But no, it fucking takes it down. And even after it takes it down, it doesn't look like a fuzzy or something like would fill it up. Because it's, just like a big clean piece of meat. There's no additives, there's no fat, there's no fur, there's really nothing else. Which I think is like, it's good, but does it need more at some point? That's what we got to ask ourselves. Or for instance, like we haven't even like kind of documented, like does the Is it there's the heart and then there's the liver, right? Or isn't there multiple? Isn't there multiple?
Might be worth trying some other type of organ meat.
Right, Bill? Like,
yeah, well, somebody, I can't remember who, was saying they couldn't find chicken gizzards, so they offered chicken livers.
Yes, the liver.
And it snatched up a liver. And ironically, I was in the grocery store today, and I saw chicken livers.
Yeah,
available for the first time. I didn't get them, but I would think that I would try them if they would, were not receptive to taking chicken gizzards. Maybe try chicken liver. They also have chicken hearts. You can buy chicken hearts too. All these different organs that maybe would be more receptive to than a pink or so. Who knows? I think we're just kind of scratching the surface on what maybe we can offer these things, alternative prey items.
Yeah, and I noticed, I think it's probably something with the stomach or something in this batch of gizzards that I get from Walmart, but it looks like skin tissue. Like it looks like fatty or like skin tissue, and I try to include that in with the clean piece of meat. Like I'm trying to give it like everything I can out of what's available in a sense.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You can strip the gizzard away where it's just purely like a strip of red meat.
Right, red meat,
or you can incorporate some of that like connective tissue. It looks like connective tissue.
It's almost like skin. It almost looks like skin on a.
Yeah, exactly.
What if we douse this fucking chicken gizzard with chick down?
Dude, I do. I offer chicken gizzards first time with chick scent on them.
So that's calcium, right? Like it's basically bone in a sense. The feather or the down, you would say, right?
I think the down is I use it so sparingly that I don't even think that has anything to do with nutrition. I think it just I just have noticed that sometimes they won't take a chicken gizzard, but if I scent it with chick down, then they'll take it.
But do you carry the chick down throughout the whole process, or do you stop at some point?
I try to wean them off it, just like pinks. As soon as possible, I try to get them to not be attracted to that chick down scent, whether I'm offering an ASF or a mouse pink or chicken gizzard. I try to get them off that down scenting.
I don't think like if we find out that it's actually more nutrition, like more nutrition to keep the chick down, I think you know how fucking psychotic these things become eater wise. I don't think it's that hard to switch them to mice as long as you do it at a right time where they're psychotic eaters at a young age. Yeah, I definitely agree with you wanting to do it at a young age, but I wouldn't be scared to keep the chick down for like the first fucking like couple months or 3 months. You know what I mean?
I will utilize it as long as they need it. I try to wean them off of it, but and like you said, MJ, in my experience, they all get off of that chick down scent eventually. It may take one meal or it may take 10, but they all get off of it eventually.
Yeah. I've never had one get stuck on it.
Yeah, me neither.
Once they're sight feeding,
you could offer
whatever.
You could offer it a pencil eraser, and
yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I may try that.
But I got to ask you, let's kind of talk about again going back to your approach of establishing what's currently in your baby racks right now. So Alex has what he has. What's the day to day like right now for the mayor? Do you have a specific feeding day and all that? Like, we kind of talk about what that's like.
I'm almost feeding every day. Maybe taking a couple of days off, but they've established so well now that I can go through most of them. I love Marshall's background. Look at that. That's awesome.
He's just showing off.
Now he is. He's showing off. Look at that.
The background getting beer. Look at him. Just kidding. But go ahead.
I'm to the point now where luckily I've had kind of a rolling, where I've had like a couple of weeks between some clutches, and I've been able to, jump on them and get them going pretty well. But right now the feeding has been much better than I anticipated, just because 90% of them are just sight feeding now. So it's been nice. It's been a nice fun.
Are you having to split it up during the day and nighttime? Like, are you noticing that you have to feed some of them at night because that's how they prefer it, or is everything being fed at the same time of the day?
No, I'm old, so I go to bed early. So so they're gonna eat during the day, or they're not gonna eat.
Dude, I just got a flashback. Like, man, this one little puny clutch of 15 that I established in September, which was going to be nothing compared to what's coming my way. I remember just certain little bastards that would just strike and drop, and then whatever reason, something would wake me up at 2 a.m. to see how they're acting. And sure enough, those fuckers are like a whole they're not dropping shit at 2 a.m. They're eating, and it's like, oh my god! And I would just go to bed crying, so happy, like thank God, finally. But I realized some of them, it's just when you offer it sometimes, you know?
Well, if that's the case, what I do is I just send them over to Alex, and he can stay up 2 a.m. He can stay up at 2 a.m. and feed them.
Fuck, dude. Man, shout out to Alex Warren, dude. Oh my God. So, and then, okay, Bill, and nothing has left your facility yet, right? That you produced, even though you probably have majority of this shit sold already. Nothing is left yet, or has?
Absolutely not. It's not even close. I mean, I've got probably 80% of these things that are site feeding now that have had 5-6 meals, but they're not even close to leaving.
And how are you updating people? Like, do you have are they hitting you up? Do you have a way of hitting them up? Like, well, what's your way of informing people who have deposits and waiting for, one of your productions?
I mean, I've made it pretty clear from the get-go that, these things are not going to be ready till October. I've got a lot of, at this point, I only have 1 clutch left, but, a couple of months ago, I had 3 clutches left to hatch. And most people have been really, really chill and relaxed about just letting things happen, and when the time is ready, they know that I will get accurate pictures and I will send them the pictures when they're ready. I'm getting very minimal daily messages about when do I pick my Neo, and all that. So that's been really nice.
I've started keeping an email list. So I think what I'm going to do is, if and when any are for sale, is Morph Market's got a private setting where you can share, you can post, you can have animals on your Morph Market, but you can only see them if you send the person the link.
Whoa!
So have an email list and say, okay, at 7:00 on Sunday night, I'm gonna send everybody the link, and at that point they're gonna be on Morph Market, and it's I'll go by order of people contacting me.
Do you have a pen? I want to make sure you have my email right now.
So Marshall, you're intimating that there may be availability.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the goal is eventually to have babies for sale. But I think I'm going to take that's the Dave D method. He has like a legit waiting list, like a mailing list and all that. I'm not doing all that. I'm just I'm gonna, like I said, people who have contacted me, I've asked them to just send me your email, throw it on the list. If and when something happens, I'll send an email out to everybody with, like I said, if I'm going to sell anything, there'll be a private Morph Market link, and everything will be posted there.
I just sent you an email. You may want to check it.
I will say, man, Dave D has quite the system. That motherfucker doesn't sit on shit. Once he releases it to his email list, a group of people, flies. That shit's gone. That might be a smart way. And also, too, he posts them when they're already changing, when they're already you already know what you're getting in a sense. It's kind of
right,
and it limits the questions, I guess. Well, what do you think it's gonna go into? It's like, no, look, motherfucker, this is what it is. And it's like it's a said done. It's
like, done. Too late. Shouldn't ask that question. Sold.
You asked one too many questions. Listen, man, I love doing it the way that I've done it.
Yeah, I love Bill's way too. Trust me, it's because it works out. Because also you love seeing people get some amazing stuff, Bill.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I really, really do. It's just, part of it that really, really excites me. I love to release stuff that turns into crazy, crazy stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
My collection now is such that I don't need a whole lot of holdbacks. I just, a few every year. I've really come to the conclusion that I'm not very good at picking out holdbacks.
Yeah.
So, I've got two choices. I can do what I've been doing, release them, or I can sit on 60 animals every year until they change. But then, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I think
but you're only sitting on them for a year, because then the following year you got 60 new ones.
It's a cycle he likes, Marshall. That's the whole point.
I mean, I don't know. I just I love sending animals out and seeing people super ecstatic about the change, because the bottom line is you're going to send these animals out, and even with the best lineages and the best parents, you're going to get some that look better than others, right?
Yeah.
I've never received a message, hey, you sold me this and it didn't turn out the way that you said it was going to turn out.
Well, because you also don't paint no false narratives or promises either, though.
Hell no, I don't.
No, right? Because you kind of let the parents, you do all that, do the talking for you. Like, that's what the bloodline is. That's the possibility. You could get something that looks like the mom, you get something that looks like the dad, or a little bit of fucking both, or just something that has crazy bloodline and maybe just more green. It doesn't. It's all about the luck of the draw, I feel like. But you're right. No one complains in the end. Like, no one's bitching.
That's all you can do when you're selling unchanged babies, right? I mean, nobody knows what they're going to look like.
Yeah, don't make like you said, MJ. Don't make false promises about how they're going to turn out. Because nobody knows. Even the darkest, most reduced Neo has the potential of turning green. It has not been the history on these animals, but some turn way more black than others, and that's just the nature of the beast. And the good thing is that, in my experience, most of the ones that don't turn, crazy phenotype, a lot of black, most of those are female. And so people are happy, to have a female that maybe doesn't look as crazy, but it comes from great lineage. And I've proved out in the last few years that you can breed a green, female in particular, from great lineage that produces incredible Neos. So,
right.
Take it for what it is.
Let me know if this sounds accurate to you guys, because for the most part, Bill, what you sell at whatever price, and no matter what the clutch is, it's unsexed, or are they sexed? Like, where are you at when it comes to selling something where the gender of the snake?
They're all unsexed, unless I have a year like I had last year, where I had I was male heavy on my holdbacks. I think I held back 6 animals last year, which is kind of high for me to hold back.
Right.
But I ended up with like maybe 4 of the 6 that were male. And so I sold a couple of those.
But would the price let's say you held these back, and some of these Neos that you let go at whatever price turn out to be female, but they're still in your collection. After being in your collection and they're already about a year old, a little over a year old, and it's a female, would that have an effect on the price, you would say?
Yeah, because I don't know, because I don't sell those. I mean, I don't care what it looks like.
But if you did, though, like, I'm just saying, like, in a world, like, if that was what you did compared to like doing it now, do you feel like let's just say, like, okay, if you knew that snake you just sold at that unsexed price was a female, and the demographic was different, and the customer was inquiring for a female, would that change the different on price on that snake, you would say?
Probably a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit.
I think it depends on the animal, right? Because if it's a super, I mean, it depends, and if they're already changed or not. If they're already changed,
but even at a year and a half, I'm sorry, Marshall, go ahead.
Just gonna say, you can make a pretty good argument that an extreme male is probably more valuable than an extreme female.
But at 18 months,
I would make that point for sure. I would much rather have an extreme male than an extreme female.
But we see some extreme stuff at that mid OCC stage, which could be a female, just not go extreme. Like, it started extreme, and then it just fucking boom, turned the corner. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Yeah. So, but I'm saying is like, you don't know, like if you're selling a insane proven female that's in a OCC stage where you don't know where it's going. I mean, it's like I said, luck of the draw, but holy shit, I think the price would be a lot more on a snake like that.
Yeah, there have been some of my animals that have come across on the secondary market that I've kind of watched, and the extreme ones have been males.
Okay, I gotta ask you, homie to homie question, Bill. Okay, you sell me a snake, okay, for X amount of money. It turns out that it's turning a whole fucking other level, and I'm like, holy shit. I turn around and sell it for double. How does that make you feel? Do you even care if I did that, or like how would that make you feel that like I fucking saw what I could do with it, and instead of keeping it and breeding it, I sold it and made like double my money?
I'll be completely honest. It doesn't bother me one bit. I mean, I'll just be completely honest. It's their animal. I have no control, and I should have no say in what that person does with that animal. I mean, I'm just being completely honest.
But wise move or not a wise move if you want to be in this long-term wise, you feel like?
I think it's crazy. I mean, I think it's because the animal now is probably close to 2 years old, and whether it's male or female, especially if it's male, oh my God, you're gonna 10 times or 20 times your investment if you wait another year.
Yeah,
it doesn't prolapse or doesn't get sick.
An animal that's 2 years old is very, very unlikely to prolapse.
Yeah.
It's gone through the prolapse curve, so to speak. But I think you're just absolutely insane to sell it. I understand if people need the money or whatever, but say I sell an animal for $5,000 as a unchanged Neo, and it turns out to be an extreme male at 2 years old, and you sell it for 10. I mean, are you kidding me? That's a joke. That whoever's doing that's a joke. You hold on to it for a year and 10 times your money.
Yeah.
On what it produces.
Yeah.
So I don't understand it, but the bottom line is I don't care. I mean, it's not my animal. Don't care.
Do your thing.
Do your thing. I just think it's crazy, but shit, I don't care.
And somebody was asking in the chats, like, when can you feel safe about not having to worry about prolapses? I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you, Bill. I've never had a snake past the age of fucking 1 year or not even prolapse. And I'm knock on fucking wood, but I've heard cases. And we all know Marshall for sure has gone through adult prolapses. I know somebody who've gone through a prolapse on a real heavy fucking purchase snake. So I don't know, man. Like I feel like you should just be watching the bowel movements. Even though I asked you that, Bill, and you're like, I don't really fucking watch that, but I don't know, man. If you are going through some prolapse issues, you got to make sure your snakes are shitting, I feel like.
Well, I mean, it's another reason why I don't sell these things until they've had really 20 meals. Yeah. And I've never, and again, this is probably luck or whatever you want to call it. I've never sold an animal, a Neo, that they've said, they've had it for a year and then it's prolapse. I know it happens. It just has not happened to me. So, again, that's why I like to keep them. I don't want to send an animal off that prolapses. I would feel terrible about it. Try to make it right, whatever. But that's one of the reasons why I keep them as long as I do.
Amen, Brian. Brian Fisher says, the moment you think you're safe with chondros, you're fucked.
No doubt. And that's not just prolapses. Exactly. That's across the board. But I do think that, 90% plus, if you get an animal that's had 20 meals and you give it the proper husbandry, the chance that it's going to prolapse after 20 meals is really very low.
Yeah, very low. And again, I just feel like if for whatever reason you are experiencing it well after the youth stage of a chondro, then you got to fucking look around with like, is this thing shitting properly between meals? And
I'll give you one example of somebody that we all know who's a great guy, who's a great keeper. I think he has one of my chondros, but he contacted me because he had two animals, subadults that had prolapsed like within a 2-week period. Yeah. And it turns out that at 2 years old, he was feeding them a relatively large size meal every week. I'm like, man, nobody feeds a 2-year-old chondro every week. You've got to decrease the frequency. You can feed it a big ass meal. That's fine. But not every week. You just got to back off, make sure your temps aren't too high. And so I think some of that can be husbandry related, but I think that's rare.
Yeah. And Marshall, I think it's been a while since you've dealt with the prolapse. I think that last one that was on, I think one of your holdbacks was about a year ago already, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, ever since, maybe not a year, but ever since then I've started, I went away for a while from my sticky notes on the cages. That track, like I track everything in my whatever Reptile Scan app. But when you're going through and feeding stuff, it's a pain. You don't want to look up every single animal. So I write it. I still log it in the app, but I also write it on the cage. When the sticky note fills up, I'll put a new one and just write down like the last 3 things, like the last time it shit, and then however many times it's eaten since then, and start a new one. That way I can quickly look at it at a glance when I'm going through figuring out like, all right, how many mice do I need to go get, or rats or whatever. And I'll jot down the ID numbers of every one that I'm going to feed. And if they've had 3 meals and no shit, they don't get fed again. If it's 4 months, it'll be 4 months. I just don't feed them again. That's my new system.
I never send feed cards with my animals because the feed cards are such a decrepit piece of paper by the time, that I send it, because the paper's been, it's been sprayed on, and my chicken scratch, and the ink is all blurred, and people can't read my handwriting. And, it would just do no good to send a feed card, because they're just, by the time I send them, they're just really rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, I sent my snake off to Jordan. Shout out to JP yesterday, and I was looking at my feed card, and I'm like, hey, by the way, Jordan, I stopped keeping track in March. Like you get the idea, okay? Like it's a great eater. So enjoy. You know what I mean? But
I'm so old school. I mean, I'm so old school. My record keeping, Kim gets on me all the time about, let me make you a spreadsheet, about who's buying what and all this, and like, no, man, just let me do it my way. It's ugly, but it's effective.
Remember Gary, not to Gary, but Gary showed us somebody whose feed cards were always so perfect, and I wonder why, because they're making up dates. That's for sure.
I mean, I could recreate the feed card. I could write it all out, and it looked all nice and stuff, but.
Do you remember that story though on the road trip? Do you remember we were talking about a certain individual? We call him the Walmart of Chondros, I think.
I don't remember, but I've seen, and people have sent me feed cards that just look pristine, of animals. I'm like, man, how do you do that?
This pen writing.
The cool thing about the app though is that you can just print it out when you can just send the print out.
What app are you talking about?
It's Reptile Scan.
Oh yeah, okay. That's been around for a minute.
It's shitty. Yeah, I mean, it's not as good as like Clutch or Husbandry Pro. I don't even know if Clutch you can track feeding. I think Clutch is mainly for like breeding lineages and stuff. Yeah. But Husbandry Pro, from what I can tell, I've talked to Zach. Is it Zach Parpart? Is your buddy Bill? He's from Texas. Yeah. He's the Husbandry Pro guy. I've talked to him a couple of times about switching over. My problem at this point is that I've been with Reptile Scan for, I've been using it for, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years now, something like that. And just the thought of having to migrate the data entry. And now that I'm thinning the ball pythons out and I'm only keeping, if any, just a select few, it won't be that big of a deal to switch if I wanted to. But just switching over, literally thousands of hundreds of clutches and thousands of babies from one to the other is just, it's too much. It would take me 2 or 3 weeks of just doing nothing but data entry. and it's just not worth it to me.
Do you do any documentations or note taking, Bill, with your females throughout the breeding season at all? Like, what do you? And I'm wondering if you keep any of it.
Yeah, I do sticky notes, kind of like Marshall. I'll do a sticky note up on locks, but once they've had 5 locks, then I don't even record the locks anymore.
Yeah.
So I'll just record an ovulation if I see that, and then that's it. And that sticky note gets thrown in the trash, and then I've got a kind of a permanent breeding card on each female that I'll record the date she ovulated, the date she laid, and how many eggs she laid, and that's it.
What time of the year? And I guess Marshall, because you're ahead of me and Bill at this point, breeding season. What time of the year are you going to be thinking about pairings and whatnot, Marshall? Like, what are you? Is that even?
Somebody was asking me about that the other day. I don't know. Like what I did last year seemed to work fairly well. I did kind of the food cycling thing for the first time, but I did it opposite of what everybody or what most people usually do. I think, right. Bill, you feed pretty heavy all summer and then stop in the fall, right?
Right.
Yeah, I kind of did the opposite. I stopped feeding in, I want to say maybe June. Stopped feeding June through September or October. And then I have to look at my records. And then started feeding again. And like the 2 females that ended up going for me last year, they went after maybe 1 feeding back on.
That was crazy.
And I mean, neither of them lost any weight during. I mean, I wasn't weighing them, but just eyeballing them. They didn't look skinny. They looked just the same to me as they did when they started. So I don't know. I haven't quite decided yet if I'm going to try that again this year or I don't know. It's getting time to start trying to figure it out though.
But you're going to have first time females, right, Marshall? Like you have different girls you're going to be breeding this year.
I have a couple. Yeah, I have a couple of first timers.
And you're just going to keep them on the same schedule.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Do I try to switch it up and try like Bill, or do I just do the same thing I did last year? Stop feeding them in the summer and then pair them up again in late fall, or I don't know.
I would do what has worked well for you.
But I mean, it's worked once. It's worked 1 year. Last year was the first time I had ever tried food cycling. I've always just done it strictly by temperatures. So,
and you got 2 clutches out of how many pairings, Marshall?
2 clutches out of 4.
Okay, which isn't bad. I mean, but I wonder.
I mean, that's phenomenal. I strive for a 50% go rate on breeding females. So
really 3, because I think one of the females was too small and wasn't going to go regardless. She's got the age, but she's just, I don't know. She is same clutch as the other ones, but she's literally, I'm going to say half the size of all of her siblings. To the point where I've thought she was a male, but she's shed, and I mean, I've gotten definite female sheds from her. So I know she's a girl, but she's half the size of the other ones and has been fed the same amount, same schedule, same everything. So that one, I don't know if she would have gone anyway. So,
how old a female is she, Marshall?
She's at 19, so she'll be 6 this year.
Wow. Definitely. Yeah.
Ready to rock.
Yeah. I'd keep for sure.
Yeah. And, I think everyone's room has some sort of like a rhythm or like a good time and place when to fucking pair things. If you got that breeding action the way you did, it doesn't hurt to try it again this time of year or that time of year. You started getting locks in September.
I have to go back and look. I don't remember exactly. I know that I had ovulations. I had pre-lay sheds between Christmas and New Year's.
Okay, yeah. So you paired up in the fall.
Towards the end of the year last year, yeah. And then the eggs were laid in January, both clutches.
That's only a little early than what you would typically, maybe a couple months earlier than you would normally probably do it. So I don't think it's going to hurt. Because you get some
Yeah.
sort of weather change in September in Alabama.
A lot, and my room is very follows the outside a lot in the cold.
Yeah, mine too.
Mine too. And that's why, because I tried pairing, I think around when you were pairing, maybe a little bit later. And I had that Vinsky girl who passed away go, but everything else wanted nothing to do with each other. And I kind of was like, what am I doing? Let me just stop. And then I stopped until like mid-January. And then that's when over here in San Diego, we were actually getting cold and shit worked out the way it did. So I think I don't think it's something I would be worried about. If you feel that shift in weather change, that's fucking pair those bastards up, dude, for sure.
Marshall, do you think your females were able to do that with just 1 or 2 meals because they hadn't been bred the year before?
And they were big.
Yeah, they're big. They were 5 years old.
Yeah.
So
in other words, this year, coming off a season where they have laid, you probably need to get more than a couple of meals in them, right? Before you would expect them to go on and produce, right?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe try both ways. Maybe on the females that didn't go last year, maybe do the same thing that I did last year. Stop feeding them in the summer, and then the ones that did go, give them that extra couple months of food, and then cut them off in like September or something.
Yeah, no, I
try it both ways.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The females that I have bred this year, every single one of them has, gone on food almost immediately. They're putting their size back on, and man, I'll breed them again. I'm going to breed Outbreak for 3 years in a row. I'm going to breed her again this fall. I mean, because she just put her size back on so perfectly. And Mountain Drew, same way. She laid a small clutch, but these girls that just they come back on and they eat aggressively right away. Man, I'll breed them back to back until they tell me it's time to stop.
So to talk on that real quick, Bill, once that female bounces back from dropping a clutch, it's back to normal female schedule feeding, like meaning for like, because you have girls that could breed, but they're not breeding. So they're just on regular feeding schedules, correct? Like every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Like the girls that I think this year I bred 11 females.
Okay.
7 of them went.
Okay.
So, I've got 4 that didn't go. They still have, obviously great body composition. I'm not feeding them nearly as much or as often as the girls that laid for me this year. Those girls, I'll feed them once they lay, and once they're back on food, I'll feed them every week. It's a relatively small meal every week for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Well, they get back on, they look normal, and then they go back to that once every 2 week schedule.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's well, I asked that because I have females that I didn't pair up this year that laid last year. But they look they look great. Like they look, they wanted it. I feel like they were expecting to breed, but I didn't pair them up. But I'm feeling like I don't need to feed them as much. Like I'm looking at them. I'm like, dude, you look pretty good. Like maybe once a month, or I don't know. I'm looking at some females and not even considering a date to feed them until I feel like I need to feed them almost,
Yeah.
I'm like not trying to be like, and I'm talking about just the ones who've been eating regularly and that look really good this time of year, right? Because for you, you don't shut off food until November, right? Or remind me when you are not feeding at all again, Bill?
Yeah, probably I start the fast in October.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, so start the fast in October. I've still got 4 or 5 months of where I can offer food, and at this point, not even really heavy food now, because the females have all come on. They put that size back on, and just offering them food back at my regular maintenance feeding for females is every 2 weeks. I don't ever let them go a month.
Right.
It may be smaller meals every 2 weeks, but I never let them go more than a couple of weeks. And
you're tracking defecations or no?
No.
Yeah.
So they get fed every 2 weeks, no matter if it's been 3 meals or 7 meals.
I've got a couple of females that will back up, and those females will get fed less. But what I'll typically do is after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, And they still, they just look big. You know, after a while, you kind of get just a sense of these things, right? After 3 weeks, they haven't shit. They're looking big. Then I'll soak them and I'll handle them, and they'll shit.
Yeah.
And then I'll feed them.
Yeah.
So,
It's kind of like a pain in the ass, but there's just sometimes you just got to step in and be like, all right, you need fucking some sort of assistance. I have a long-term captive monocory female that hasn't had a clutch in like 3-4 years. I can't remember, but she fucking loves to eat. But goddamn, she'll hang her tail and act like she needs to shit, and she just won't shit. And I'm like, dude, and she'll even move around at night, and you'll be like, dude, are you gonna shit? And she won't shit. But if I soak her, she'll shit.
I mean, and that's exactly what I do. And really, I only have of all the breeding females I have, I probably have 1 or 2 that acts that way. The rest of them are just, you know, you feed them, and a week later they shit, and then a week after that you feed them again. You know, that's.
Yeah, but that Vinsky girl that I lost due to an egg bound that had all that shit impacted in her, I'm always fearing for looking for shit now. Like I have like PTSD. Like seeing a shit makes me sleep at night. Unfortunate.
Having a bunch of babies hatch makes me sleep at night.
Wow, thanks, Bill. All right, so with that being said, Bill, with everything current right now, like you already have a good idea what your season's gonna look like. What does that mean for next year, Bill? Like, how are you like preparing pairings for next year? Like, are you looking to do as many as you can like you did this year? Is that going to keep rolling energy wise, or what's next year looking like?
You know, I didn't even do as many as I could have this year. So
crazy.
You know, again, I don't have, like, unlike Marshall, I don't have any new and upcoming breeder females this year. Like, it'll be 2 years before I have a female that will like be bred for the first time. So I'm looking at breeding females that didn't go last year, and then I'm looking at breeding females that have put their size back on this year, which basically means I'm back to square zero. I mean, I could, you know, I could breed the females that didn't go last year, and I could breed really almost all the females that went this year.
And then how many males can you swap in? Like, can you like fucking flip around and like, you know, put a male to a different female?
Oh,
like
yeah.
that type of shit if you wanted to?
Absolutely. I mean, Freight Train has produced consistently 2 clutches for the last 3 years.
That's gangster.
And, you know, and so, yeah, definitely a massive breeder male, 2-3 females for sure.
Freight Train came with the trade that you did with John, right? Like you guys traded? Or how'd that work?
John just gave me that animal.
What? Wow.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Like, did he lose a bet? What happened? Can you tell me what?
Well, he said he had a sibling to it, or 2 siblings to it that he, you know, thought at the time were nicer, and they may as well be nicer. I don't know. I got Freight Train when he was relatively young.
Yeah.
I think I got him when he was a year, maybe a year and a half. And he said, "Hey, just, you know, if you, I want to gift this to you, and if he produces some animals, send me some Neos." And so that's what I've been doing. And he's turned out to really be, you know, along with the sickness male offspring, he's been really one of the hallmarks of my collection. So I'm very, very grateful to John. I tell him that all the time. And I want to reward him. He's going to get a couple of babies this year. And so I think he's been happy with the way that things have shaken out. And I certainly have been ecstatic the way things have shaken out. So,
well, yeah, I mean, that's quite the fucking, you know, system there, I feel like. But also too, like, John knows what he's doing. Like, I mean, he probably saw what you had going on. And I wouldn't be opposed to that with a lot of, like, if Alex, I mean, me and Alex weren't always kidding around like how we would want to like switch holdback someday, or like I would definitely send something to Alex in the future or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you get a circle of people that you trust, and you know, really, you know, Buddy Buscemi and I have had a relationship for
shout out to Buddy, man,
15 years. You know, where I really trust him and he trusts me, and we've worked out some really great, you know, collaborations together, and it's just it's really part of this that to me really makes it really, really enjoyable. I know you can get burned doing that. I understand the risks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And as long as the other person understands the risks, and there will be no hard feelings if things don't go the way that you hope they would go.
Yeah.
But my circle in that regard is really pretty tight, and I would never. Buddy has one of my animals, one of my sickness males up there that he's been breeding and producing. And if he called me tomorrow and told me that animal died, I would say, well, I'm really sorry that happened. I know you're treating that animal exactly how you would treat an animal that was your own, and no hard feelings. You're sorry it happened.
Yeah.
But
that.
So to have that kind of relationship with people in the community, it's one of the things that just keeps me going, and it keeps me so uplifted about the community, and people, that kind of relationship takes years to develop, that kind of trust.
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad you said that, Bill, because some of these social media relationships get people in a mental space where they feel like they could trust somebody. And that's really scary to do when you hasn't physically met the person, or like you don't have a years of established relationship with the person. And it's because a lot of people want friends and stuff like that, but goddamn, you got to be careful out there, man. You really do.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And that kind of relationship, like you said, MJ, that has to be a personal relationship. I've met John Irby in person many times, mostly at Tinley. Buddy, God, his oldest son goes to college 40 minutes north of me. Whenever Buddy comes in town to visit him, we're always getting together, and we have much more of a relationship outside of the green trees. And so I think that's got to be part of it. Anytime you develop that kind of relationship and you put that kind of trust in somebody, it has to be more than just, hey, I like your Instagram posts,
Hey man, we swap stickers, man. I could trust you with anything.
Right.
Man. All right. Well, why don't we wrap this up with a roundabout either question or topic for each other? Okay. I'll go first. And I'm going to ask you, Marshall, straight up. Where do you really see yourself at the point where breeding chondros is like, I don't know, like the number one bread and butter for you? Like I said, I know you're holding on to some ball python stuff. But if it all works out, like, will you not have any ball pythons if in a perfect world, or what's the actual future looking like when it comes to the other species?
Yeah, I'm on the fence. Like the ball pythons. It's a lot of time and a lot of work, and if I could get rid of all of them, I could get rid of my rodent operation. I could go back to buying frozen thawed, or do the rodents and at a small enough scale to where it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And I'm torn about it because I do like them, but at some point the amount of work that it takes is gonna. If you can't sell them, or you're selling them for a few $100 a piece, it's not worth spending 10, 15 hours a week taking care of 100 of them, To me, it's not, at least, So I don't know. As it stands right now, I've got some things going on in my personal life that it's going to be, there's going to be some life changes coming up pretty soon, and I'm thinning things out. So for now, we'll see. The goal right now is, or the thought right now is that I'm going to get rid of all of them, slowly but surely. I'm kind of started off with kind of went through and graded all of them, and say, okay, this is the stuff. Like these 20 animals are the ones that if I'm going to keep 20, it's going to be these. And I'm just slowly selling off everything. But it's getting to the point now where everything is man, really don't want to sell this thing, but I got to keep in mind the goal of potentially just getting out of them altogether, which will free up space, in the space that you keep, whatever, like 150 ball pythons on my ball python wall. It's like 20 chondros that you keep in that same space. So that's, 130 less mouths to feed every week, 130 less water bowls to feed change, 130 less tubs to clean or cages to clean. And you know, so like I said, I don't know. I'm torn, man, because I do like them, but just the way that the market is right now, do I like them enough? You know, fortunately, I've been keeping back a lot of chondros, and you know, I've got to the point now where here in the next couple of years, I could start producing decent numbers. You know, last year, even though I only have about 15 or 16 left, that's about triple what I produced from the last 4 or 5 years. Now, granted, I did move, and there was some adjustment period with the room and all that's to be expected. But, you know, it's hard to say what the future holds. You know, one thing for sure is the chondros, the emeralds, they're not going anywhere. But the ball pythons, you know, and the thing about the ball pythons is that, yes, I could sell them. And if I sell them all, you can always rebuy them. You know, you can always go and rebuy. I'm not that far ahead in any ball python project where I couldn't go to
Marshall, can we keep it real right now? You are not, once you're out of ball pythons, motherfucker, you are not coming back.
Yeah.
Never say never.
That ship is set.
Right.
No, we're not Justin Bieber in this. I'm saying I'm putting all the money in the world, saying that Marshall, once that ball python ship sells and those rodents go away, you ain't never looking back, bro. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. But like I said, I do enjoy them. I do like them, but not enough to basically do it to where you break even or you know, as much as I, you know, hate to say, because it's really not about the money for me, but the money, it's got to be worth it. You know, the juice has got to be worth the squeeze as far as the amount of the effort that it takes. And if I can make, you know, I mean, this is not an exaggeration now. I mean, if I were to sell these chondro babies, could I make, who knows, whatever X that I'm making on ball pythons for literally a 25% of the work or 10% of the work? It just doesn't make sense. You know, like I got other things to do. I'm getting to, you know, I'm 53. I'm not getting any younger. I got other things that I want to do in life, and you know, having a big ass collect. You know, not even that it's that big. It's big when it's just, you know, considering that it's just me, with, you know, little help from my son helping me a couple hours a week. It's like a chain around your neck. You know, it's like like the albatross around your neck. Like you can't. You're a slave to it. You know, I've said it before. You can't go out of town. You gotta, you know, when you do go out of town, you're worried about shit. You're, you know, unless you have an Alex like Bill does.
Anna Jose.
Anna Jose. Yeah.
Jose's the OG. Remember, Jose is the OG, man. Like Bill's had consistent fucking help for a long time now, dude. It's on, and the same people too, which is nuts. Fucking awesome. Yeah.
It's, you know, it can cramp your style big time when you're, you know, when you want to do other stuff.
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you guys right now, lately, what's been my biggest challenge is getting back into the rodent game. Right. And, I convinced my wife to fucking let me turn the shed that we had for storage into just the rodent. And she agreed. She agreed only if I bought another shed. So I had to buy another fucking shed, okay, and put everything in there, which is too small, by the way. But now I got this open space for a fucking shed, where I spent $4,200 on an ARS rack. Should be here in about 10 days, okay. And then
you're definitely back in it.
I'm back in it, yeah. But then I'm thinking, right? I'm like, you know, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, as Gary tells me not to all the time. But I'm thinking, like, man, like I'm really kicking back on the ball python production this year. Like, I'm only going to have like 7-8 clutches. And I'm thinking, like, why do I need to produce rodents for these fucking ball pythons? Like, that's the only reason why I need rodents is for the ball pythons. So if the ball pythons are taking such a back burner, but I have to produce the rodents and I have to fucking do, which, like, the ball pythons have at least 3 days out of the week where it's their day. And I'm always doing shit for them. But holy shit, imagine if they weren't fucking here. Like, not only will I have space, but no rodents. I could fucking live off frozen thawed. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
But also, good.
I was just going to say, I'm, you know, my numbers are down probably to half or less from what they were even 7 or 8 months ago. I've gone from probably close to 200, and now I'm probably sitting at maybe around 100, 110 ball pythons. And the amount of free time, like I've been able to, in my rodent room, I've got, I don't know, 7 or 8 levels that are now empty that used to be full. So when it comes time to clean, it's like, instead of taking 2 hours now, it only takes an hour and a half.
Yeah.
If I could get that down to, 30 minutes, then maybe it's worth doing it, even if it's just for chondros. Because I know, from what I hear, frozen rodents have gotten pretty expensive compared to just a couple of years ago. Yeah.
No, way expensive. Like the whole rodent thing, period. Which is also another reminder why, like, I am doing the rodents, because I am in a position where I'm getting fucking raped right now with the rodents, and I don't want to. That's not sustainable. Right. But then it's just like, it's a whole nother, like, when we talk about this all the time, how the rodents is a whole nother grind of what we do, but it literally is, and it's investment, it's money, and it's a lot of time, man. And there's this, like, there's time that we put in the reptile room, but we're with our reptiles. It's fun. When it's fucking rodents, dude, it's like,
it's terrible.
It smells, dude. It just smells.
It's no fun. It's nasty.
It's
yeah,
dude.
You gotta, a lot can go wrong if you're not there. If you don't. So what I say, like, every morning I go down before I go to work, before I go to the gym in the morning, I'll go down, just do a walkthrough, walk through the snake room, put my eyes on everything, do the smell test when you go in there. If something, immediately when you walk in, you do the smell test, if something's bad wrong. Same thing with the rodents. You go in there, check all the water buckets. And there's been a couple times where it's like, holy shit, man, I was cleaning in here yesterday and I must have accidentally knocked this nozzle off, and one of the tubs has got 3 inches of water in it. If I had not checked it that morning, it would have been rat soup when I got home, So bad things happen when you don't stay on top of it.
Well, for now, I have a Home Depot built fucking rodent rack, which told myself never do again. And so, want to know what I walked into? Luckily the flight I didn't leave for Thursday morning, fucking 6 ASFs all stuck on a sticky fucking thing. They fuckers chewed out one of the tubs. And so, like, imagine if I was gone on an airplane and I'm like, hey babe, can you open up the shed? And she would have opened up. Dude, that would have been so bad.
Nasty.
Luckily,
that's how it happens too.
Dude,
that's how it happens. It happens when you're not there. It's inevitable.
My God, bro. By the way, don't go cheap on your rodent rack. Just go professional, please. All right. So, Bill, do you have anything you want to wrap up with tonight? Anything on the top of your head?
I do. When I found out that we were going to do this episode, just the three of us, which I think we've only done once before, I was thinking about MJ, the success that you have had, this year in particular, but even last year, it always, and I think I told you this before and I've told other people, if you want to become an expert in something, do a podcast, do a podcast and bring on people that, are at the top of their game, and learn from their successes and learn from their mistakes. And man, I'm just so proud of you, dude, for what you did this year, because you have paid your dues and you took your beatings and you never gave up. All you did was you adjusted. You made, you realized what you were not doing right, and you made the adjustment. And, that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a few months. It takes years for that to come to fruition.
Or sometimes not at all, right? Like, can we be real? Like, even not everyone who's tried chondros had success. Some people left packing without even getting their first clutch, like, because of that whole adjustment and obsessing over it and paying attention to things. Like, you have to.
Yeah, you have to. And you did it, right? And now you're looking at, again, I never count my chondros before they hatch, but you're sitting on an incredible number of eggs right now, and you've learned how to incubate these eggs. You've learned how to establish neos. So I'm quite certain you're going to have continued success this year with those eggs and with those animals. But again, it's because you took the ultimate steps to do it. You went extreme, and that's the same thing that I did. When I got into it, I said, when Buddy asked me to be a co-host of GTP Keeper Radio, I was like, dude, I have no experience. Why do you want me, on a I think what is a great concept. And so I did it, and I learned so much from the people that we brought on. Yeah. And there's no doubt it's the reason, for a decade later that I'm having the success that I'm having. And you did the same thing, and so I'm really like, I'm just proud of you for doing it, for sticking it out, for learning from your mistakes. And, it's just the ultimate success story. And I love to see it. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it if you have the commitment and you take the time and utilize your resources. And this isn't rocket science, dude. No. To do this successfully, but you have to take the right steps. You have to learn from your mistakes. You have to learn from other people's success and their mistakes. And you did all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely got to say a lot of it is credited to like the Lost Boys, man. Like, we're very open in our chats. Like, we all share the good and the bad. And I know that whatever bad I've been through, all of you guys have gone through it. And it's nothing that you should let happen where it stops you in your tracks and you stop trying, and I feel like being friends with you guys definitely has motivated the shit out of me to just like keep my fucking head down, adjust where you need to adjust. I always give props to Ryan Young when he told me about the heat panels, and that's what made me really, and Mark Bailey, that's when I really started looking into the husbandry side of things, and it just went from there. But yeah, man, I think you're right with the podcasting. I never want to make it seem like I take you guys for granted, because you guys show up damn near every fucking Tuesday night. And I always tell people I selfishly started Trap Talk. I started it because I knew I could bring the best of the best on and learn everything I need to learn from them. And I've been doing that for over 5 years now. So yeah, you're right, Bill, when it adds up after a while. But I obsess, just like you guys, I obsess over this. We're constantly active in the chats, talking about what's happening. And, when you finally adjust and you do what you need to do, then it is just a matter of time, right, Bill? When you finally adjust,
it's a matter of time. It's a matter of numbers, and all of us, everybody in the chats tonight can be successful.
Yes,
you just have to persevere. You have to take your licks, and some people take more licks than others. I'll be completely honest. I've been very, very blessed in the number of licks that I've taken. I've taken my fair share of licks.
Yeah.
But some people are going to take more than others, and it's going to happen early. It's going to happen late in your breeding career. But I'm just
it's the one thing that's going to be consistent if you do it long enough.
Yeah, the lick. Yeah,
you're gonna take licks.
Yeah, sure. And that, I mean, let's talk. I mean, Bill, you took a lick in a sense with the adjusting you had to do with your fucking egg box this year, like that. I mean, that was something you had to learn from,
Dude, like almost 15 years into my breeding career, I still had to take a lick, had to learn from it.
Yeah.
And so, my whole point in the conversation is that anybody can do this. You just have to be committed. You have to be time committed. That's the most important thing. You have to be time committed. It's not a race. It's a lifestyle. It's a longevity thing. And, if you're committed to that, I don't care who you are or what you're working with, you will eventually be successful if you don't give up.
Yeah. Very inspiring. What a way to end and send off this episode. And, obviously, as success continues for all of us, we will definitely have more solo All in the Tree boy episodes, just catching up with things, because I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot that's happened for all of us, but in a sense, it's just the beginning. So lots more to come, boys. You feel me?
It's still early, man. Still early in the race.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, you guys are awesome. I appreciate you too. Red Mountain Herbs on Instagram. Go give them a follow. And of course, Phoenix Reptiles. Subscribe on Instagram. And you boys have a good night. But give it up. It's a wrap for Marshall Mendez and Bill Stiegel, ladies and gentlemen.
Good episode tonight, guys.
Hey,
Marshall, it was great to hear you clearly tonight.
Hey, man, look, we got to figure it out finally.
You got the background, you got the audio working. Damn.
Maybe I'll get my Patreon members back. hey,
I hope not.
Fuck you. You bastard. Hey, have a good night, boys. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye. Great episode, man. It was cool just to chop it up with Marshall and Bill. And I just want to give flowers to both those guys real quick. These guys have inspired me from the get-go. You know, I remember yesterday what it was like walking into Bill's collection for the first time. And I remember what it was like walking into Marshall's collection at the first time, staying at both their houses. And I feel like, experiences like that is what pushed me to the point of where I'm at today and where I'm headed. So I got to give it all my props to my boys out there. And, obviously it's a lot more than Marshall and Bill, Gary Scavino, Ryan Young, Socrates, Patrick, Chris Rice. There's probably other people I'm missing, man, but I love all you guys. I appreciate all my mentors, all the support I have from like the big dogs out there. And of course, all the support I have from everyone watching. I will say that a lot of people have given me love, and I fucking love all you guys. You guys are great. So, but yeah, if this was your first time watching this episode, make sure before you leave, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button. Help me organically grow this podcast further. And if you hit that like button, it puts this episode in the algorithm where other people could watch it. So by doing that thing, it helps me out a lot. And of course, drop a comment in the comment section. Give me some feedback. And if you're looking for exclusive content, you want to get more behind the scenes, you want to get content before anyone else does and get invited to really cool events, then come join the Trap Talk Patreon family. Simply click the very first link in the description below. As soon as you join the Trap Talk Patreon family, get connected to a Discord, an amazing Instagram group chat. We got trappers from all over the world. See at the top. Hey, listen, before I let you guys go, please check out my sponsors and have a good night. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Green tree pythons, emerald tree boas, and plenty other arboreal snakes have been quite the popularity here at the Trap Talk Reptile Network, which brings me to today's sponsor, the Reptile Perch. Head over to the reptileperch.com and Reptile Perch on Instagram. See what type of design PVC perch is best for your arboreal reptile. But first and foremost, I would also check out David Brom's Green Tree Python availability on the website. And you can also check out his Instagram just to stay current on any projects or any productions that he posts. Thank you so much, David Brahms, for your ongoing support. Looking forward to seeing what you have to show in the 2025 season. When you think about building a good community and being a leader of that community, nobody comes to mind better than Mark Hager over at Texas Chondros. That's right. Make sure you head over to TX Chondros on Instagram and also head over to Mark's website. See what he has available Green Tree Python wise and be ready for quite the 2025 Green Tree Python breeding season out of Mark Hager. He's a veteran in the Green Tree Python game, one of the best and nicest breeders in the Green Tree Python game. He's been putting on the whole state of Texas for as long as I've known him. So if you want to see all the amazing other chondro keepers out of the state of Texas, another good reason to go follow Mark Hager over at TX Chondros on Instagram. And again, head over to his website, texaschondros.com. You can find all the links in the description below. Thank you so much, Mark Hager, for supporting the Trap.